All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Tiffany. I'm going to give a testimony of my life for you to use, not against me, but just for you to use. It might give you some insight to an angry person. Trigger warning, I am going to do things I don't typically do, like smoke a cigarette while I talk about this stuff. I grew up my whole life perfect. Perfect. Okay? My parents were divorced, and I thought, love isn't real because my parents are divorced. But I got over it. I was raised by my grandparents. I was the last virgin in my high school. I graduated a virgin. Everybody used to make fun of me for it and tell me that I'm too uptight and I need to let loose and get laid and blah, blah, blah. Well, I didn't want to just lay with anybody because I can't see myself attached to anybody for 18 years or more. So anyways, I never did that. And they'd talk about sacrificing my virgin blood on Ouija boards and blah, blah, blah. I got over it. I thought it was funny. All the football players used to write really nasty notes to me. Ask me if I'm going to kill myself and slit my wrists and emo, bitch, blah, blah, blah. Also, trigger warning, I curse a lot. I apologize for that. My maker up there knows that that's the one bad thing I do. I don't care. So then I started going to church a lot. Church was awesome. It changed my whole entire way of thinking. It gave me a lot of hope. I used to go 3 or 4 times a week. My one pastor told me about this story of temptation, and he told me about how the Eskimos like to take knives and dip them in blood over and over and over until they make a blood popsicle all around the blade. Then they stick it outside in the snow, and a wolf will come by, start licking up the bloody goodness, and not even realize that its tongue is being numbed while it's licking the goodness, to the point where it licks and cuts itself till it bleeds out and dies. And this is how the Eskimos get their food. Weapon-free. And temptation is a lot like that. You know, the devil wears Prada, things seem good, and you find out that it's actually in the long run terrible for you. So then my pastor, he moved out of state, and I thought, I'll get by. His name was John. He was really cool. And I have this thing for Johns. I don't know. I worked for a doctor named John, and I love John Foreman from Switchfoot, and I love Jonathan Davis from Korn. It's a John thing. If your name's John, you're probably a good person. Anyways, he left, and we ended up with this other pastor, and he told me that I would go to hell because I wasn't baptized. So, he also used to take us to concerts. Our other pastor would get in the mosh pit with us, but this guy, he'd take us to our religious retreats, and then he would go into like a staff meeting room and watch football games instead of being part of the worship service. So I kind of fell out of love with church a little bit. So then I started listening to Switchfoot and Reliant K and As Cities Burn and all these really good bands that have a message that is tries to help people get to the hierarchy of self-needs so they can meet their maker without it seeming so scary. I gained a lot of peace with my maker, but I started to think of people on Earth as God's parasites, and they're colonizing against me. So that was kind of bad. Alright, part 2. I got another cigarette. Because this is where things get heavy. So anyways, my grandmother, she had multiple sclerosis, had 7 children. She felt good during her pregnancies because her body would protect itself instead of having seizures and tumors on her brain. She was always happy having a kid and happy raising kids because it gave her something to look forward to. And I used to think that everybody was an irresponsible slut, and all of my friends started having babies out of wedlock, and I thought these kids are going to grow up so dysfunctional. I thought, what a problem. And I forgave them for it. Helped them out with their friends. One time we even threw a baby shower for this girl, and she didn't have a pot to piss in, and she didn't know who the daddy was, so we helped her out, and we threw this baby shower at my friend's house. So then, the next day, some of this pregnant lady's friends came in and stole from that house. During the baby shower, they had unlocked the window so they could get in when all of us were gone. They went in and stole game systems, jewelry, money, just everything from the house that they thought they could make money off of. And we already gave her everything we could for the baby, and she took that as well. Give me an inch, I'm going to take a mile. So you help someone out and you get backstabbed. So, you know, it sucks being violated, having a breaking and entering. It really rocks your world. I've had a lot of cars ransacked. I've had a lot of problems here in Ohio. So I get defensive. So my grandmother with MS dies when I was young, and it caused my parents' divorce because my dad was depressed all the time, and my mom couldn't understand his depression. So then my dad gets in this really bad car wreck, and it smashes his spine. He had a near-death experience, and he was put on a lot of painkillers, and he ended up developing a narcotics addiction. And my family told him that he better pick family or drugs. Well, the reason he was picking drugs is so he could get by for his family. Because what good are you when you're in total pain and you can't do anything for anybody? So he would find pain relief to help people out, and people would scream at him about what a piece of crap he was for being on drugs. And I was just happy that my dad was alive because he could have died in that car. And so a lot of my family told me to choose a good life with them or to choose to fall down the rabbit hole with my dad. And since I was the only girl left in his life that hadn't let him down, I decided that my dad needed my help more than these steady breathers that won't lift their finger for the gas being weaker. So I stuck with my dad. Everybody thought, oh, Tiff's going to be a drug addict. So they already marked me up for that one. Well, I've been through a lot of tremendous pain and decided, well, maybe I could start my life somewhere new, you know? So I thought I had MS like my grandma. We're all dysfunctional. My muscles fall apart. My abdominal muscles, my pelvic muscles, everything falls apart. So I thought I had something that wasn't diagnosable yet, but I found out that I have endometriosis, interstitial cystitis, irritable bowel, mild bipolar, PMDD, PTSD, a lot of problems. But I try not to let those get me down. So then I meet this boy in Texas and told him, you know, I basically think I'm dying of cancer or something. And he was fine with it. He said, we're going to get you help. You should come to Texas and get better medical care. And my whole family almost moved me down there. We long distance dated for like 5 years. I dated him, and we drank together, and because I never drank alcohol, everyone thought I was a square, so I started drinking that. Well, I ended up getting raped, to put it simply, date raped. But because I was dating the guy, nobody believed me that it was rape, because even though I said no, and they weren't there, and they don't know the scenario, and his mother didn't raise him to be that way, it doesn't mean that he wasn't that way. So I went back home. I told the cops. I thought the cops were going to lock him up for life, get me my peace back. But they told me they could only get him for manslaughter if they found AIDS in my system by Planned Parenthood. They said it was out of their jurisdiction. Nothing they can do. So I tell him about how alcohol changed him. And they said, yeah, things like heroin can do that to a person. And I said, I don't think he's on heroin. He's a pretty chunky man. And they're like, yeah, Ohio's got a big heroin problem. And I said, well, he's from Texas. So they thought that, I don't know, he's some drug lord or something. I don't know. But anyways, I went to the police and I told them my problems, and they ended up causing more problems because, lo and behold, they arrested my dad for internal possession of being on drugs, because my whole family was concerned that he was going to blow his inheritance money from grandma and grandpa on drugs. So everybody thought if we take that money away from him and split it 6 ways instead of 7 ways, that we're saving our brother and we're getting more money. So that was a problem. So I stopped talking to my family. My dad got arrested. And then I thought, what in the world, Bobby, what the heck? I mean, why would my dad, the nicest guy of all guys, get arrested, and this guy who raped me just gets away scot-free, ain't no problem? Well, that bothered me. So I ended up making peace with this dude. And I told him, I just wanted my stuff back. I just wanted you to apologize. I hope you never do this ever again. I hope you learn from it. Because you do, I mean, I wanted him castrated. And we made our peace, and I just told him, I'll forgive you if you never talk to me ever again. So, I moved on. I ended up with a guy who was my high school sweetheart crush. We never dated because our friends said, friends can't date each other because then it'll ruin friendships. Well, we had all graduated. Nobody talks to each other anymore. Everyone's moved on. They have their lives. They have their babies. So I moved on with my life. And I found a guy who actually takes care of me. So I think, all these problems are out of the woods. I was living in an apartment, and he would come over and visit me. When my dad was arrested, all these random drug addicts wanted his Suboxones when he got clean. So they'd come and steal and ransack and point guns and all this craziness, and the cops can't do anything about it. They won't do anything about it. I've gone to them a million times. I've had a lot of really bad run-ins with cops, but I'm not even blaming cops because I've had good cops before. I went to a Warped Tour. I didn't have any money. I was going to buy the ticket last minute because I was going to work that day. I got off work early. I ended up going, and they said the box office would close at 5 or 9. I thought it would close at 9 p.m., but it closed at 5, and I got there at 5:02. And they told me, you're shit out of luck, you can't see the bands, you can't enjoy your night. I got really upset. I went to a cop. I told him about it. He went in and printed off 2 free tickets for me to go to Warped Tour. And I gave him a hug. I tried to give him the money. He wouldn't take the money. He said, go enjoy yourself. And I just thought, that's one of the nicest things I've ever seen a cop do for me. Quite literally. So, it's not a cop thing. It's not a race thing. It's not an age thing. It's just people think they're fighting evil and doing good, but they don't realize that there's good and evil in literally all of us. And instead of bringing out the best in people, they want to keep poking the bear, I guess, to make people really crazy. Part 3, third cigarette. So my new boyfriend, tells me that I need to learn how to protect myself, and I need to know how to shoot a gun, and I need to prepare for the apocalypse. I need to learn how to grow my own food. I need to learn how to be not a damsel in distress, but actually a teammate, a sidekick, an equal partner. And I told him that violence wasn't the answer, guns aren't the answer, you need more God in your life. Well, I've had people tell me that. I've had people, drinking beers telling me I need Jesus in my life, and they've been so hypocritical that I've just never bought it. I've just been tired of everybody and their bullshit. But, I see where they're coming from, but at the same time, Jesus is not my homeboy, and I love Jesus, I love God. It's just the way that everybody manipulates them into getting what they want isn't something that I feel that God would be proud of. But it's not my place. Once again, I'm pretty non-judgmental. I used to be very judgmental about everything. But I'm left-handed, so that means I'm evil, according to a nun. So, I'm evil because I'm not right-handed. So they do this whole left ring, right wing crap, but really it's just all one big slaughterhouse, and it doesn't matter if you go through point A or point B, we're all licking the popsicle stick and not realizing it's going to kill us. So, we need to stop dividing to conquer. I didn't get my license till I was 18 because I was a late bloomer. I had a lot of crazy things going on in my life. I knew I wasn't going to go to college because I had chronic pain, and I knew I wouldn't be able to focus long enough to even find a career. So that kind of busted my chops. I applied for a lot of jobs and got denied jobs at gas stations and everywhere until I started working for this doctor who did braces. And I used to think, this dude makes money off of making people vain. And I thought, what a face value, just straighten your teeth to look pretty. And I thought, but you're really just vultures, and I was just really mad about it until he explained to me that braces aren't even about looks. That's just the star on top of the Christmas tree. But the reason he did braces was to improve airway, to help you digest food properly. Some people have open bites and they can never properly chew on a piece of lettuce to digest their food. So he says it helps speech, helps breathing, helps digestion, helps with confidence. It helps you with pretty much everything. So he decided that he was going to open up my airways with a palate expander, help me get air to my pelvis, help me, live longer. He used his bare hands for my longevity and my abundance of air in my life. And for him to use his own two hands to work miracles like that made me realize that a lot of us could use our hands to make miracles. So I, was happy about that. But then he ended up dying. And it crushed me. It was literally the worst thing I've ever seen. He told me, Tiff, it's been a hell of a ride. Just want to tell you that good people don't quit. I'm a good person, and I'm not going to quit. So, start working for this Nazi. I call her Nazi because she is the embodiment of Hitler. I finished all of my doctor's patients, but I told myself not to become attached to hers because I knew I would be leaving. I was getting really sick. She was making me sicker. I was traveling all over Ohio to help hundreds of people fix their smiles, but nobody would help me fix mine. So I realized I can't pour from an empty cup, and I tapped out. I tried to get help. Started going to hospitals to get help, find out what was wrong with me. Well, none of the doctors want to give me anything because my whole family's been on drugs. I've lost a cousin to fentanyl. He died. He was a psychologist. He was a cook. He was like the greatest person ever. I didn't even think he'd ever get married because you can't find a better half than this guy. And drugs got to him. So I gave the tough love approach. Like, don't come around me. I've already fixed my dad's life. I can't fix yours too. Like, I hope you find the answers that you're looking for. And I offered him a piece of crap van to live in, my old van, because I wasn't driving. And I said, you can have my van and live in it. If a homeless shelter won't take you, at least you can get yourself to work and live in your car. And that's as far as I went for him, which is probably the biggest regret I've ever had in my entire life, was that I could not save him. Yeah. But other than that, I kept pressing on, you know? But then these doctor's appointments, I went to like 60 or 70 of them. I saw psychologists, psychiatrists, pain management, urogynecologist, OBGYNs. None of them would help me out of my pain. None of them would help me have children. None of them would help me smile. None of them would help me at all. So I started growing my own food. I've saved like 8 cats. I got them all fixed. They weren't my problem in the first place, but I'm a sucker for saving things. And I didn't have any children, so that's what I do. Is I have a 15-year-old parrot, and I have a dog, and I have all these cats. And I take care of them, and they're literally the only things that lick the tears off my face when humanity fails to reach me. We gotta lighten up. We gotta lighten up on people. Living is simple, and breathing is easy. It's easy to do. So, anyways, I know I'm going in circles with my story, but it's all got a point, I guess. It's just that I've been to hell and back again. I've got vouchers for it. I could show you. And people still chalk me up as a bad guy. And, you know, and sometimes I embrace that, going, I wish I wasn't such a nice guy. So yeah, bring out the bad guy in me. But we all need to snuff out our blurry faces, as 21 Pilots would call it. Your blurry face. You need to snuff it out. Because it's only going to cause more damage. And you acting like it isn't going to happen to you isn't the way to handle things, because all these dark things can come upon you. It's just the way that you handle them and get out of them. I'm always a person you can talk to. Seriously, when cops and family and friends and everybody fails you, you can come to me, or you can go get an animal, and I promise it'll make you feel better. And if you're allergic to animals, I suggest that you listen to some really good music. Switchfoot's whole discography was the therapy I needed. Over meds, over money, over everything. And I would seriously give my last dime to them to make the world a better place. There is a song by Flyleaf called Cassie, and it is about the Columbine shootings, and it is about the active shooter pointing a gun to her face and asking her if she believed in God. She knew she was going to die either way, but she decided to say yes, and it pulled the trigger. I can't say I understand why the shooter decided to do that to her, or to make her meet her maker in that light. But I do understand that hurt people. And I guess if you want the violence to stop, you have to stop causing pain for the weak ones. Because a lot of people don't know how to channel their anger. Some people smoke cigarettes, some people go running, some people, shoot guns, some people listen to a song. It's just some of the ways innocent lives are affected, and it shouldn't be that way. Irony of all ironies, the guy who raped me was obsessed with Wes Anderson, and my favorite band, Switchfoot, is having a tour over the movie The Life Aquatic, which is a Wes Anderson film. And I love Bill Murray. I do. I can say that it kind of hurt me to see them fuse with evil, but I actually think it's something that I need. I actually feel like this tour was specifically made for me to confront my fears and to go enjoy myself and not let evil get to me. So, my eyes on the prize are setting myself towards this concert in October, and I really hope that I can make the money to go. The funniest part about it all is that when I stopped working with braces and started getting help by the hospital, I had to give up my old house for a different house, and I decided, let's work smarter, not harder, and we'll just rent that place out. Well, there was a girl who said she was trying to get away from her douchebag husband and give her kids a safe environment, a new place to live. And me being a sucker, because I don't have any kids, and I'm like, she's a mom, she needs this place more than I do, I'd let her have my old home and rent pretty cheap. And then come to find out, she's actually a meth head and a whore. And I'm angry about her damaging my house, and her kids wrote vulgarities all over the walls and spilled nail polish on the floor. There were maggots in the fridge, all kinds of problems. And the cops didn't do anything about it once again. Not that I expect them to. And I also don't wish death upon this girl. I just wish that she would get her life in order, because I gave her a sanctuary. I gave her a stable environment, and she turned it into a hell house. So, I get why people don't want to do good deeds anymore because of all the backstabbing, but I'm telling you, be the loser and relentlessly give yourself. Turn the other cheek to be hit, because the losers win in the end. And I'm not saying go kill everybody. I'm really not saying that. I'm saying give everybody the best life and the best version of you that you can be, because if you want to see change, you have to be the change. So, if you can't get close with humanity, get close with nature, and you'll understand humanity a lot better, and it'll help you get close with humanity. I used to have a fight with everybody because everyone told me the word witch is in Switchfoot, and all their songs, if you go through their song titles, they're pretty disturbing. They have a song called Bomb, a song called Chem 6A, a song called Ammunition. All these songs sound like really scary things, but when you click on them and face them, you realize that it's not as scary as it seems. It's actually really enlightening, exhilarating, and it makes you get giggle fits, because it's the complete opposite of what you expect it to be. I've also had a lot of Switchfoot fans, that would tell me that I don't deserve to be in their clique because I'm not a true Christian. And I know that Switchfoot doesn't box anybody out, and that's something that I've held on to for my whole entire life. Don't box anybody out. Once you start boxing people out is when the stereotypes get a lot more intricate and dangerous. Stop boxing people out. I don't care if they're on drugs. I don't care if they smoke cigarettes. I don't care if they curse. I don't care if they look like a hobo and they don't smell very well today. Stop being unimpressed and start doubting your doubts and start believing your beliefs. It's really important. I don't know. I've felt like a lost cause. I felt like I'm gonna go to hell for a long time. I felt like a fallen angel and I'm supposed to be here for some reason, but I can't figure it out why, because all these bad things keep happening to me. But I do know that if someone puts a gun in my face, I'm gonna give them a hug. And I don't care how cracked out it sounds. That's what I'm gonna do. But, like, everyone else is just gonna bicker and complain and rant and make it a whole lot worse. Just shut off your TV. Shut off your Facebook. Go outside and see the sun. I mean, it will seriously change the way you think. You guys are hung up on bad news. Good news is that in the end, we're all going to win anyways. So stop fighting it. Just let it happen. I love you all. And I'm sorry for the trigger warnings and all of the craziness that I've talked about. But I just wanted to let you know that, like, I've done things, I've done good deeds to the end of time, and still had bad things happen to me, but it isn't going to stop me from being a good person. So, if anyone's having a hard time, talk to me, because I can take it. Like, I mean, the weight of the world is on my shoulders, and I can take it. So, whatever you need to talk about it. But don't cock about it. Don't shoot a gun. And I'm not even anti-gun. Like, I'm not about violence, but I can pick up a gun and it's not going to turn me into a bad person. Like, you can be responsible. It's just, people just don't know how to rein in their self-discipline. Just be self-disciplined and everything will work out. I'm telling you. Make friends. I ended up making friends with all these Switchfoot people who hated me. I used to think, it's just me and Switchfoot. And all these fans here, they need Switchfoot as bad as I do, but we're never going to meet eye to eye. And I'm finally seeing it, like I was bitter about not being able to go to the Switchfoot Bro-Am because I'm too physically sick to drag myself to California. So I obviously love it when Switchfoot comes here because where I'm from, there's no sun. In my hometown's in the dark, yeah. 21 Pilots and Reliant K are from Ohio, and they totally know how the place goes. So if you want some insight, you need to listen to all of these albums by all of these bands. Like, I've learned tons of stuff from Ozzy Osbourne, and he's the Prince of Darkness. And I've learned tons of stuff from John Foreman, and he's the Prince of Lightness. And I can still see both of them touring together. But other people think, well, that's oil and water. It's just not going to mesh. Well, that's just your negative way of thinking because anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. So,